All right, turnovers, guys.
Yeah.
As we look at the defense, and we've talked about this, we think that there are metrics that show that this defense is off to what would classify them as an elite defense. Not historic yet. I think that's too early to have that conversation. But I think they're elite. But the one thing that most great defenses do is take the ball away. And this defense does not do that. They've had 3 turnovers. They've forced 3 turnovers now in 4 games. The offense is turnover prone. They've given it up 10 times in 4 games, and in all 4 games, the Browns have lost the turnover battle. You see their differential there, -7. The fact that this team is 2-2 with the -7 turn, where's -7 ranked? 30?
Yeah, it's right underneath.
Who's below them? And what's their records?
1 second.
I'd be surprised if either of them are 2-2.
It's stunning. If you think about how many times the Browns' defense has been put in bad field position.
Short fields, yes.
And yet, their defense has played 3 historic games and 1 okay game.
It's nuts. It really is.
Which is crazy.
31 and 32 are who in the turnover differential?
The Raiders
Okay.
at -9.
And what's their record?
They have 1 win.
Okay.
And then the Giants and Vikings are both tied at -8. And that comes out to...
So all 3 of those teams are 1 and 3.
They've combined to win 3 games total.
Now, I think the Vikings are a decent team, too. And I think they will play better. They're playing the Chiefs this weekend.
Well, part of the reason they are 1 and 3 is because they've been giving it
They've
up
had
too
a
much.
crazy amount of fumbles. I don't even think it's been that many interceptions. I think they've had a lot of
Yeah.
fumbles.
Are
Listen,
you worried about that?
Yeah, I am worried.
I am too.
Listen, there's always a percentage of turnovers both ways that are luck.
Yeah.
A bounce of the ball,
Sure.
It goes off a body part, whatever. But there's the other chunk of it that when you're turning the ball over is about how you're carrying the football as a runner.
Yeah.
How you're carrying when Deshaun Watson's scrambling, how he's carrying the ball, how he's seeing the field in terms of not throwing a pick. And defensively, the non-luck part is, are we being aggressive, attacking passes to get a
That's why I'm so surprised we don't have picks.
Right, because they've been
Like
aggressive.
they've been an aggressive. They're constantly applying pressure. Miles Garrett is either home or real close to home in a high percentage of the opposition's throws.
Yes.
We're not picking off the ball.
I think it's coming. I'm more worried about the offensive turnovers than I am about the lack of defensive turnovers.
I would echo.
Turnovers forced.
I completely agree with that. I think sometimes I'll give the other teams credit. Instead of, and that's why I get mad, because it just seems like these teams are coached. They're just coached a little bit better. So the quarterback, like you look at who we played, and like you said, Myles Garrett and all the pressure and everywhere, it seems like the coaches are telling their quarterbacks, listen, if you take a sack, it's -7, -8. We
Better than a fumble or a pick.
Don't throw the ball to them. Just eat the sack. Just take the sack. I know people don't want to take it, but the lost yards, sometimes a punt is good. I know you don't. Everybody wants to go down the field and score, but what it does, it gives your defense an opportunity to help you out.
It's a lot better than a pick or a fumble.
Do not get a pick and don't fumble the rock. So that shows you value to football. So on the other side of the spectrum, to me, I just don't think the Browns on offense, they show a lack of regard for the football. They do things that you cringe at. Sometimes the way the quarterbacks are fast and loose, right? If you look at DTR, now granted, he came in, he tried to run a lateral option play, on the sideline. Yeah. It was a 4 lateral, and I'm wondering, is Alex Van Pelt in your ear whoa, what do they teach you? Because Deshaun Watson is kind of careless. He threw the ball backwards against the Tennessee Titans.
What's funny, that wasn't even a turnover. That was his worst play.
Neither one of those were turnovers, but they're both head scratchers.
Yeah.
And my thing is, they're going to have to really work on this during the next part of the coming off the bye, because when you got your offensive line and they're struggling the way they are, you got to be coached to keep the football secure. And you also have to be coached to get it out quickly, because those strip sacks come when you're trying to move around and run around and create. It's just I just would like to see them, have more value in the football, even with the receivers. Elijah Moore is just getting the ball taken from him. He's running backwards and stuff. I don't know. It seems like they're not valuing the football the way they should and playing complementary football with their defense.
To me, wide receiver fumbles are inexcusable.
Yeah.
Those are crazy. I mean, that should almost never happen.
Because you're not getting hit. They basically taken the catch where you're defenseless out of the game.
Right, yeah.
So
With the running backs, they're getting hit all over the place.
Yeah, sure.
By 6 different guys.
A lot of times
can
you'll see a
it
running
sometimes.
wide receiver, you have the ball punched out from behind.
Right.
Like a defensive back is closing. He doesn't even know he's there.
Right.
And he comes around and punches it
That
out.
hasn't been the case with Elijah
But
Moore.
no, it hasn't. Elijah Moore just seems to be like, here, I don't want it, you take it.
That did happen to Njoku on his one fumble. But
was,
Other
yeah.
than that, the rest of the receiver fumbles for the Browns this year fall into Bull's inexcusable
Yeah,
category.
it's
Yeah,
just
that-
they've
that-
got to clean that up. And I've always said, if you're looking for one stat to judge your team on, obviously there's a million stats. Look at the plus minus at the end of the year, and you can pretty much guess what a team's record is based on their plus minus.
It's very rare to have a significantly negative plus minus
and have a good team. Yeah. At
You wanna
the
do
end of
that?
the year, your bottom 16 teams are usually the 16 teams that are the worst at turnover differential.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some gray area in the middle.
There is a little bit, but for the
if
most part,
if you're in the extremes of that, if you're extremely high
if you're
or
plus
extremely
22
low,
at the end of the
yeah,
season, you're 11 and 6.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And if you're minus 22 at the end of the season,
right.
you're 6
and that's
and
the
11.
pace the Browns
Do you
are
wanna
on
look
right
at-
now. They got to change that.
Look at last year.
I do. So there's a little bit of anomaly because the Chiefs ended up at -3 last year.
That's rare.
Yeah, which is
But that's in the gray area to me.
No, it is, but it's still rare.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's a minus 15.
Right,
They
right,
were
right.
pretty much a wash.
What's
you can win by being a wash on the turnovers.
Who were
Yeah.
the teams that were double-digit minus last year?
well, let's start with the double-digit pluses to start.
Okay, double-digit plus.
So San Francisco was tops in the league, +13.
Okay.
Very,
All right?
very good.
Made it to the Final Four.
Dallas's defense led the NFL in takeaways. They were +10, another playoff.
good
Made it to the Final 8.
Philadelphia +8, Super Bowl contenders. Those were
Super
the
Bowl
top
team.
3 teams.
They were Final 2.
The bottom 3 teams, only 2 teams finished in the double-digit negatives. The Colts, who drafted in the top 5.
Yep.
And the Saints, who were not very good last
you go.
year.
Yeah.
The Raiders, Jets, Commanders, Cardinals, Panthers, Falcons, Titans, Bucks, Bears, Texans, Rams, Broncos, and Browns were the other teams outside of Kansas
Those
City.
teams were all under
that
500.
finished
Yep.
with a sub.
They were
or
all
a
bad
negative
teams.
I think
turnover.
the most
it's-
wins in that group were like the Browns and the Titans with 7 wins. I
So
think.
it really is a predictive stat.
Yeah.
And to your point, and I love your point because I think you're right, G. I think coaches prioritize things like special teams. You see that come out in the wash. The teams that really spend time on special teams, they're usually at the top of the list in special teams play. It's the same thing with ball security and trying to take it away. I remember for years, Peanut Tillman is the one that invented the
Yeah,
punch or
right,
perfected
right,
it.
right.
Yeah.
That Bears defense, it was their mantra. Before they broke the huddle in every play, it was takeaway.
Yeah.
It was front of mind on every play. Let's take the football. And if you make that concerted effort as a coach to drill it into your players, I just think it's more likely that message
Yeah.
is permeating the players and you're
Right.
seeing it on the field. We've got to coach these guys to do a better job of taking care of it and
Yeah.
a better job of taking it away.
Well, it's hard to be critical of Jim Schwartz because the defense has made such improvements.
No,
That's
I
really
know.
the only negative thing you could say.
It is the only negative.
At this point. On offense, yeah, I mean, that's a fair criticism because the offense as a whole hasn't played particularly well so far this season. But, yeah, I mean, you'd think it would be a big part of coaching is coaching those things.
You know, it's so difficult. Sometimes, like when you're a defensive player, there's a couple of things that you're thinking about. Like you're thinking about, okay, all right, I'm here. Let me just make the play. Or a couple of things you be thinking about is, okay, we've been hammering home tackling. Sometimes when you're a bad tackling team, which the Browns have traditionally been, you just thinking about getting the guy on the ground. You ain't even good enough to start punching the ball out.
That's
Right.
true.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a great point, G, because there is a fine line, right? Where if you go up to tackle somebody and you're just trying to get the ball out and you don't, well, maybe he gets another 7 yards. while
Or
you're trying
strips
to do
away
that.
and goes the distance.
Right,
too.
yeah.
First
So
thing, get them on the ground.
Right.
But if you can, while you're getting them on the ground, also try to knock it free
It's-
or gang tackle.
That's
First
the
guy
best
wraps him
scenario.
up.
There it is.
Recon comes in and knocks the ball out.
That's the way they
case
teach
in it,
it. They teach it like that. First guy, wrap up, hold him up.
Yep.
Second guy, you come in and look to strip the football. But, the Browns, they had terrible pursuit. There was sometimes where it's just one guy and you waiting for the cavalry.
And there's no cavalry
And there's
coming.
no cavalry.
Yeah,
Did
I
you not
know.
see him running?
I just think the Browns have such a talented secondary that it feels like it's just a matter of time.
It
I
should.
can't believe they're not
It's
getting
crazy.
picks. I just can't believe they're not getting
Especially
picks.
Denzel, who does get picks.
You would think he'd
But
have
the
a
other guys
handful.
haven't had them, but
No.
Denzel's had picks.
I think interceptions come from. I used to always say in college, sacks is the same as picks, right? It's hard to get double-digit sacks, but then I even started to think, nah, they ain't the same. They're not created equally because
It's harder to
it's
get
harder
picks.
to get picks because I could just run into a sack or the quarterback fall down. Then we talked about that a little with Sam on PFF.
Right.
All sacks aren't created equally. So for defensive backs, I think it takes an elite level of one, play recognition, understanding what they're running. And I know that we all know that they know that they about to throw this football. But sometimes you got to play it off.
Right.
You got to act like you got to bait somebody
Warren
sometimes.
Thornhill did that well in Kansas City. He would jump routes and come
Yes.
out of nowhere
Yeah.
like he knew what was coming, but
Yeah,
we just haven't seen
that
it yet.
And this is obviously the first game with the Bengals was a weird game, but the offense you're facing next week. I mean, you got a quarterback that's playing extremely well.
Yeah.
We could argue all day how talented he is. All I know is he makes a lot of smart decisions.
Doing what he needs to
and
in
he's
that
playing
offense.
very well.
is.
And their skill position talent through the roof.
They-
McCaffrey's the best.
They've got a
Debo's
top 3
great.
tight end.
Yeah, he's
a
not even
top 3 running back
He
and
hasn't
a
even
top
done
3
much
wide
yet.
receiver. No, he hasn't. But
And by the way, their number 2 wide receiver, who's having a better year than the number 1 wide receiver, I think is one of the more underrated wide receivers in the league.
Probably
Brandon
is,
Ayuk.
yes.
He's a really good player.
And the best left tackle in the game.
And they got a
Sure.
great offensive
Unreal.
line.
Based on the conversation with turnovers, this is probably not the week it breaks for the Browns. On the season, the 49ers have turned the ball over one time.
No, that's what great teams do.
They not like
What are their takeaways?
The 49ers are +4 in turnover differential. They have 5 takeaways, 5 interceptions on the season, only 1 giveaway. Dallas is running away with the lead. They have 10 takeaways already and have only turned the ball over once as well. For
That
a
Dallas
+9.
defense is special, man.
That is personally given G. Bush 2 fantasy wins this season.
Yes,
That
by-
Cowboys.
Speaking of which, can I share a minute? So I'm in this my biggest fantasy league is a keeper league. We have contracts. It's very complicated throughout the season. So we already have a few teams that are packing it in and playing for next year.
Wow.
And-
Already?
Yes. These teams everybody's very aggressive. It's
Wow.
like anyway, I made a trade with one of those teams that's playing for next year, in which I acquired Austin Eckler.
Oh.
But as part of that deal, I demanded that he send me the Browns defense as part of that deal.
Wow.
okay.
So I've acquired
okay.
the Browns defense.
So this guy's giving up?
Okay.
He's tanking?
He's essentially, yeah, I traded him. Now, he got DeAndre Swift for me, who's been really good. DeAndre Swift's got a much better contract than Austin Eckler.
Right.
So he got Swift, and I traded him my first and second round rookie picks in next year's draft.
Dang.
Wow. He's going all in,
I'm
Brown
planning
style.
on winning the championship. It's the 12th pick in a rookie draft. Who cares?
Yeah, you're right. If you're
I don't
first,
care.
that pick
That's right.
won't kill you. But
Yeah.
that means your first pick wouldn't come until 13.